To react is Bret Baier, special report host. Bret, thank you so much for joining us. You know, as you watch that clip and you listen to the press conference from Sean Spicer earlier today, it was interesting the turn that we've taken. He was being pressed on this idea that Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, is going to Moscow. He's not meeting with President Putin. He's meeting with, you know, the person who would be his counterpart. But they were sort of making a big deal over this tension and how icy it feels like things have become. It's quite a switch from the theme of just last week that there was this back-channel relationship. And I mean, what do you make of that change, and does it stick?
Well, I mean, it is stark, and if you think about all these investigations that have been going on, with the congressional investigations about alleging collaboration with the Russians before the election, the whole thing was a back channel to Putin, Well, now you have a front channel that is getting shut down, and a relationship that has clearly turned icy, and a foreign policy decision by the president that puts the U.S. directly at odds with Russia. So it doesn't fit the narrative if you're going along what a lot of the media was kind of threading together. Now, that said, I think there's a lot to this Syria story that the administration is trying to figure out U.S. policy and how to talk about it. They're parsing words about regime change. I don't think anybody, including Nikki Haley or Rex Tillerson, means that the U.S. is going to send troops in and take down Bashar al-Assad. But I do think that the hope is that with a little bit of leverage, that they'd be able to get some political solution where Assad leaves and some other person comes in that perhaps the Russians are also okay with.
Yeah, and kind of like you mentioned, I mean, there is some criticism for, are we hearing a clearly articulated strategy? Kellyanne Conway spoke to that earlier today. Let me play it for you and get your reaction.
All those people voted for Donald Trump in Pennsylvania and all over the Rust Belt. They didn't vote for Rubio or they didn't vote for Jeb Bush because they didn't want more of the Bush doctrine. They liked what Donald Trump was saying. Be pragmatic. Be very careful before you get the United States once again involved in another country's civil war.
My apologies there. I knew that was Laura Ingraham coming up. That was just a momentary brain lapse there, Bret. But nonetheless, what do you think about that? Do you think that that's what voters who elected him are thinking?
Well, listen, I think that there's different voters who elected Donald Trump. I think most of the voters believed that they just wanted to shake up Washington. Washington wasn't working on either side of the aisle, kick the table over, and try something new, and this was the vessel of change. I do agree that practical getting things done was behind most of the motivation if you look at the polls. But I think that Laura is right that some section of the Trump support was very skeptical of getting involved internationally. I think, though, that this reaction, both on the left and the right and in the international community, will bolster the Trump administration that they made the right choice.
Yeah, interesting stuff. All right, Bret, thank you so much. We look forward to watching you later this evening.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.